Welcome to Monkey Explains 2. We are going to explain in this episode about how awful and terrible the timelines are in Dragon Ball Z. Okay, part 1. So, time travel began in the Cell Saga, and before and after it, there was no time travel.
No!
Because it's convoluted and bullshit. The reason time travel exists in Dragon Ball is because Toriyama had to basically keep changing the villains. So, time travel follows the multiverse theory. So, multiverse theory is when you go back or forward in time and time travel, you don't affect the timeline you were in, you create a new timeline. In Dragon Ball, once you create that, the timeline you were from and the timeline you made are linked. If you were in the year 20 and made a timeline, like went back in time 5 years to the year 15, if you waited 5 years to go back, then in that timeline it would have progressed 5 years and be the year 20.
What's the deal? Is your phone call over? Good thing they reached.
So I'm going to now try and make sense of the timeline because in canon they explain it completely incorrectly.
And you're just telling all of us now?
Here's what happened, like factually. Here's the first timeline. If no time travel ever happened, this is what happened. After Goku had a 5-minute battle with Frieza, like a year later, Frieza comes back with his dad, and they go to Earth to try and kill him. Goku is in space and is like training, and he comes back and he beats the shit out of him. But because he was in space, he got a heart virus, and currently in the year where he got the heart virus, there was no cure for it, so he died. And then the androids came about, and they killed everyone.
Better be careful. There's a couple of androids on the loose and they mean business.
And the only survivors were Bulma, Kid Gohan, and Trunks as a kid. Trunks used the time machine and created the second timeline, so we now have 2 timelines.
Now there are 2 of them.
In this timeline, he kills Frieza and King Cold instead of Goku. He gives Goku the heart virus, and he warns him that the androids will attack in 3 years. Trunks goes back to his timeline for 3 years because he's going to come back. Because like I said before, the timelines are linked. So because 3 years passed in the future, 3 years passed in the past. He kills the androids in his timeline. So he's going to come back and basically say, hey guys, I killed the androids. Cell wakes up and realizes that androids 17 and 18 are dead, which is bad for him because he needs the androids to transform. So he kills Trunks and uses the time machine to go back in time 3 years before Trunks came, which means he creates another timeline. Exact same events happen here as in timeline 2, except Cell is in this timeline as his imperfect form. And this means, however, there is a timeline 4, since there needs to be a new Trunks that comes to warn the main characters. So he comes and gives them the heart virus and the warning of Android 19 and 20. This is very important. He warns them that Android 19 and 20 are coming. Android 20 is Dr. Gero. Android 19 is his fat clown. The main characters fight the androids, and future Trunks returns as they are fighting Android 20, and he's confused since he isn't the android from his timeline. He says that's not 17 or 18, but he warned them about 19 and 20. This means that this is a different Trunks from timeline 4 Trunks, which means there is a 5th timeline, meaning there is a 6th timeline Trunks traveled to. There must be a sixth one because he went in the past and warned Goku about Android 17 and 18. So somehow, this is never explained. Somehow he went to that timeline and then I guess trained for 3 years and then like forgot which timeline it was. So he like went to a different one because logic. The reason they made it like this is because Toriyama kept having to change his villains because his editors kept calling his design shite. So he decided to put time travel in this. This is the reason why this is the only saga that has time travel because he first of all made these idiots. Then they said they didn't like it. So then he made these two and then he made Cell. So there are 6 timelines and the events of Dragon Ball happen in timeline 3. Quick fire round. The original timeline, Goku dies. They go back in time to try and stop Goku dying. Trunks is an idiot. He doesn't know how time travel works. So he creates another timeline where he goes back to the original timeline and is killed. And somebody else uses a time machine and creates a new timeline. The events of the story happen in timeline 3. A different Trunks in a 4th timeline came to the 3rd timeline to warn them about the androids. He gets killed or doesn't come back off screen somewhere else. Which actually might mean there's a 7th timeline, but we're not going to get into that. So there's a 5th timeline. And then there's a 6th because there has to be a Trunks that replaces that Trunks. So there are 6 timelines. The next episode of Monkey Explains will be talking about why Goku Black is an android and time travel in Dragon Ball Super. Believe it or not, it is even more convoluted than this.